Then we see in verse 20, when David returned home to bless his household, Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, "How the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, disrobing in the sight of slave girls of his servants as any vulgar fellow would." We see here that Michal criticized the king to his face for not being more professional and dignified. Have you ever had that encounter? I guarantee you learn how to worship God, you're going to turn people off. You might even be accused of being vulgar. King David was. But let's read on, verse 21. David said to Michal, "It was the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me ruler of the Lord's people, Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord. I'll become even more undignified than this, and I'll be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I'll be held in honor," honey. I added the honey. David knew God's heart and was therefore secure enough to spontaneously express love to God extravagantly. He didn't care what the people around him thought. He just wanted to worship the Lord. Now, let's look at the last verse. "And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death." The fact is that King David was blessed by God his entire life, but Michal was not. Now, in that culture, in that day, the biggest curse a person could ensue on themselves was not being able, not being able to have children. That was considered to be the biggest curse in that culture, and they believed that if you sinned and if you disobeyed God, he would curse you by not having children. That's what the Jewish culture believed in that generation. So the Bible tells us that Michal had no children, but we know that King David was blessed, man. He was blessed beyond comprehension. So what could we learn from all this? When you lavishly worship God from the heart, you're blessed. But when you sit on your hands and just condemn and criticize others and judge others for trying to do it, you're going to be cursed. And those curses you bring on yourself. What you think of others will come back to you. Jesus taught us that. That's why he said don't judge, and that's why he said what you do to others will be done unto you. If you condemn other Christians, you'll be condemned. But if you bless other Christians, you'll be blessed. And you know, I'm not interested in having a freak show at New Heights, and I'm sure you're not either. But I am interested in taking a risk, stepping outside of the box once in a while, and trying to worship God even if it looks foolish. Does that make sense? I'm not talking about being idiotic, but I think sometimes we just get too boxy, and we just get too concerned what people think about us. I hope at New Heights you have freedom to worship the Lord. Bottom line, freedom to worship the Lord. Let's look at the different expressions of biblical worship that you'll find in the Bible. I'll go through these relatively quick. Standing. Can anyone tell me what standing means when you stand for a person? What? What's that? Respect. Yeah, that's right. When the president or a king walks into the room, the people stand. How many of you have been to court? You stand for the judge, right? What's that? Woo! Yeah. Hear what Paulette said? You stand for the bride. That's right. So when you show respect and you honor royalty, you stand. And that's what standing signifies. Ecclesiastes 5:7 says, "Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Therefore, just stand in awe of God." Great passage. Number 2, lifting hands is a sign of surrender. When someone sticks a gun in a person's back, what do they naturally do? When a little boy or little girl wants to be lifted up by their mom or dad, what do? Have you ever had a little child do that? They're saying, lift me up, Daddy. Lift me up, Mommy. I want to be close to you. I want to be close to your chest. Lift me up. It's a sign of surrender. Psalm 141, 1-2 says, O Lord, I call to you. Come quickly to me. Hear my voice when I call. My prayer be set before you like incense. May my lifting up of my hands be like the evening sacrifice. Did you catch that? May the lifting up of my hands be like the evening sacrifice. Wow. Number 3, meditation. It's an act of reflecting on God's goodness. Psalm 77, verse 11 through 13 says, I'll remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I'll remember your miracles of long ago. I will meditate on all your works and consider all your mighty deeds. Your ways, O Lord, are holy. What God is so great is our God. Do you realize when you meditate on God's awesomeness, that's worship? And one of our spiritual disciplines as Christians, we should meditate on God's word. We should meditate on God's awesomeness, his holiness, who he is. That is an act of worship. Number 4, being still, waiting on God. Psalm 46:10 says, be still and know that I'm God. And when you're just still in God's presence, that's an act of worship to him. Number 5, bowing, kneeling, laying down. A sign of deep respect and reverence. Chronicles 7:3 says, when all the Israelites saw the fire coming down and the glory of the Lord above the temple, they knelt on the pavement with their faces to the ground, and they worshipped and gave thanks to God, saying, he is good, his love endures forever. Number 6, thanksgiving, an act of verbally thanking God. Psalm 9, 1 and 2 says, I'll praise you, O Lord, with all my heart. I will tell of your wonders. I'll be glad and rejoice in you. I'll sing praise to your name, O Most High. Number 7, dancing. How many of you like to dance? Any dancers? Do we have any dancers? Anyone? Dancing, an expression of joy and celebration. Psalm 149:3 says, let them praise his name with dancing and make music to him with tambourine and harp. Number 8, clapping. What does clapping signify? Yeah, what does it signify when you clap? What? Yeah, approval. You appreciate. Yeah. And when you clap, you're approving of God's goodness and you're appreciating him. Psalm 47, 1 and 2 says, clap your hands, all you nations. Shout to the joy with cries of joy. How awesome is the Lord Most High, the great King over all the earth.